The IDF casualties occurring after October 7th is very important. I actually counted. This is like 11,683, almost 12,000 casualties IDF has suffered since the October 7th. Remember, there are only 170,000 active personnel of the IDF. 170,000. About 7% casualties. These are about 7% casualties. Very significant figure. And the more they start suffering the pain, the more voices you will see coming out of their ranks slowly and slowly. And there are already voices.
מופקרים, וסליחה שאני אומר את זה בצורה כזאת בוטה, הדם שלנו, שהדם הנפשי, זה על כל אחד שאמור לטפל.
So many news like, IDF has probably killed 8,000 Hamas members. Totally false. Totally fake. I don't think IDF has probably even killed 1,000 Hamas members, to be honest. By the way, we have a lot of primary evidence for IDF casualties because Hamas uploads this evidence almost every day. We are seeing this. So Hamas is hitting the IDF hard. I repeat, Hamas is hitting the IDF hard, right? How many times have you actually heard this? Not enough, right? Not many times. But that's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, you have heard so many news like, IDF has probably killed 8,000 Hamas members. Totally false. Totally fake. I don't think IDF has probably even killed 1,000 Hamas members, to be honest, because there is no primary evidence from the IDF that, they killed, 8,000 Hamas members. No, that's all fake news. The truth of the matter is that Hamas has been engaged in guerrilla warfare, and they have outsmarted Israel and the IDF as well, because Hamas is operating under the tunnels, and operating under the tunnels is more important from a strategic point of view. From a strategic point of view, Hamas has total control of Gaza at the moment, militarily, because if you have hold of underground, that side will ultimately have military control over the region. So Israel doesn't have control, and Israel is losing this war to Hamas. So Hamas has, outsmarted them. They have complete control over the region at the moment, militarily. Secondly, how many times have you heard, the Israeli media, pro-Israeli media saying that, October 7th, 1,200 killed, right? They often quote this figure, 1,200, but they have not quoted the IDF casualties that occurred after October 7th, which is very important, right? The IDF casualties occurring after October 7th is very important. I actually, analyzed this, and there are very few sources who have actually reported this, that I actually, in the Times of Israel has reported in one of their sources, and I'll share it. The Times of Israel has reported in one of their sources that 766 soldiers have been killed. 766 IDF soldiers have been killed since the October 7th. In another source, they reported that that 661 IDF soldiers have been killed. 661 in another source. And from the Hamas side, we can see that they have reported that 636 have been killed, 3,611 injured, and 7,306 wounded. So the latest estimates can be like 766 killed, 3,611 injured and 7,306 wounded. I actually counted. This is like 11,683, almost 12,000 casualties IDF has suffered since the October 7th. Remember, there are only 170,000 active personnel of the IDF. 170,000. About 7% casualties. These are about 7% casualties. Very significant figure. Why is this underreported? I'll tell you why this is underreported. I'll tell you why this is underreported. The reason why it's underreported is because, like all big wars that happened during the past, it often happens that as the war is progressing for longer durations, the side that is in the power, right? Like in this case, Israel, their military start to turn against them. I repeat, as a war goes on, lingers on for a long duration of time, their military, the military of the stronger side starts to side against their governments. Why? Because they start suffering their losses, right? They start suffering their killings, their wounds, their injuries. So as the IDF military personnel will start to face these casualties, the IDF soldiers, their relatives, they will start suffering the pain as well. And the more they start suffering the pain, the more voices you will see coming out of their ranks slowly and slowly. And there are already voices that are being generated out of the Israeli soldiers who are turning against them because they are saying, no, not anymore.
מופקרים, אני מדבר עליי, אוקיי? עליו. מופקרים, וסליחה שאני אומר את זה בצורה כזאת בוטה, הדם שלנו, שהדם הנפשי, זה על כל אחד שאמור לטפל. אתן לך דוגמה, אני הפכתי להיות אלכוהוליסט. אני הפכתי להיות עני. בחובות שלי מעלה מ-800,000 שקל. אני מעוקד מכל הכיוונים. אני את האישה הזאת, כמעט הרגתי כמה פעם בידיים שלי, מתוך שינה. אני משתין בלילה, אני מפחד. אני לא ישן בחדר. אם אני לא שותה בקבוק הרג ביום, אני לא עולה לישון.
The problem is inherent in the mission, and the mission is occupying people without them having rights and dignity. One issue was this issue of settler violence, which is not really discussed within Israeli society. And what I saw through my view from the operations room was time and again how acts of violence against Palestinians are just under rug swept and covered up by the military.
You are using their lives for a filthy war. This needs to end. You should negotiate with them. Through diplomacy, you should resolve these issues rather than militarily, because more and more lives will be lost and they will be the ultimate sufferers, right? So more as the time will go on, more and more IDF soldiers will turn against their governments. I'm predicting this because this happens in all wars. Remember the Iraq war? Do you know why Blair had to apologize? Why the American leaders had to apologize? Is because their higher ranks among the military was turning against them.
And I tried hard to be proud of my service, but all I could feel was shame. And racism could no longer mask the reality of the occupation. These were people, these were human beings. I've since been plagued by guilt anytime I see an elderly man, like the one who couldn't walk, who we rolled onto a stretcher and told the Iraqi police to take him away. I feel guilt anytime I see a mother with her children. I feel guilt anytime I see a young girl, like the one I grabbed by the arm and dragged into the street. We were told we were fighting terrorists. The real terrorist was me, and the real terrorism is this occupation.
They feared this, that what if everybody turns against them? Their military turns against them. When a military turns against you, game over, right? So this is being deliberately underreported. 7% of IDF's casualties, they know. The Israeli governments know. The pro-Israeli Western media knows. Western media has underreported this as well. That the more, if they report this more, this will create fear among the IDF soldiers. This will create hatred among the IDF soldiers. That please, hey, look for a solution now. Enough of these losses, right? So this is the reason why it's being underreported. And by the way, we have a lot of primary evidence for IDF casualties because Hamas uploads this evidence almost every day. We are seeing this. Almost every day we see that 7 IDF soldiers killed, 8 IDF soldiers killed, dozens of IDF soldiers killed. So many reports emerging, right, like these. So there is primary evidence that Hamas is hitting the IDF hard, right? And we need to, we need to accelerate these kind of news to the Israeli officials, to the Israel and to the IDF soldiers as well, to the Western media, to the entire world, to the I don't think even the mainstream media from the Muslim world, like even Al Jazeera, TRT has reported this so often. This should be vociferously reported that IDF has suffered a lot of losses in this war. And with that, Assalamu alaikum.